Yeah, recording in progress. So good evening, everyone. I'm sorry we weren't able to figure out a way to have this one in person. We're sort of desperate to take these meetings out of Zoom, but our normal meeting places were not available and other things we could come up with seemed too small. And then we ran out of time to figure out any alternatives. So we're back in Zoom tonight. Hopefully we'll have some time to figure this out for the next one in October and figure out a way to do that safely so that we can all get in there together. We've got kind of an open-ended, the main part of the agenda is kind of open-ended tonight. And we'll get to that in a bit. And we've also got a couple of guests. Brad Lander's going to be joining us, but I don't see him just yet. So in the meantime, let me say hi to Chris Marte. Chris, how are you doing?
Hey, Jeremy, I'm doing really well. How are you?
So I hear you still need to get elected. Is that right?
Yeah, so November 2nd is a big day. Thank you for everyone who supported us in June. It was amazing results, and we had a busy summer with all the issues we've been working on downtown, from East River Park to all the rezonings happening around the district. But we still have a big race ahead of us, and only 1 month left until early voting starts, and it's going to be a little bit competitive. Our competitors did get matching funds, and so there will be mailers being sent out, posters going up, and we need all the help that we can get to finish strong, and the same way we did in June. So we're excited, but we have a lot of work to do.
One of your opponents took a page from your playbook from 4 years ago, I understand, and is running on the independent line.
Yeah. And
you can't complain about that, can you?
I can't complain about it. Different narrative, I would say, but
Sure.
I can complain about
it. And you said early voting starts. What's the date for early voting? It's like the 2 Saturdays before Election Day again?
Yes. So I believe it's the 25th.
Okay. We'll be, once we have some details on that, I'll certainly be sending that out to the club. Chris, what can we do to help before then?
Yeah, so, we have a lot of doors to knock in less than a month. And if people want to reach out to me, I know Caitlin is on as well, and her email is caitlin@votemarte.com. She's my campaign manager. There's a lot of voters that we have to hit, because we're not just only hitting Democrats this time. We're hitting unaffiliated voters, independents, and hopefully some Republicans will see the light and support us as well. And so we have a lot of people to hit, short amount of time. So any help will be great, whether you want to stand on Grand and Clinton and try to get people as they go to Metro Acres or Trader Joe's or Target, or if you want to do your own building, that would be super helpful. And so just let us know. Every help, every hour matters, especially with so little time. And we just want to educate people on the importance of this election. And we also want them on board, so when we become the next city council member, that they can continue to be engaged and active in our community.
Chris, do you also have options for people who can't do door knocking or in-person things for health or time shifting reasons?
Yeah, so phone banking, we won't do text banking until closer to the election. So, stay tuned for that. But phone banking is probably the easiest way for people to get involved from their homes, especially as this variant continues to spread, and we want people to remain safe. So yeah, just let us know the time, the date. We're super flexible. Our team is still on board, the same team that we had in the primary. And so any one of them can lead a phone banking session if people are there.
You still have a campaign office in the same spot?
Yeah, so we're at 28 Forsyth Street, which is Forsyth and Canal. Someone is usually there from 8 a.m. to now probably 8 or 9 p.m. So if you want to come by, pick up some flyers, posters, just let us know, and we're happy to deliver them as well.
Yeah, and I see Caitlin dropped a link in the chat for everybody to a Google form. You could use that to figure out how to volunteer. I'll also probably be sending out that same link and some other options just to try to push some volunteers over to Chris's campaign before November 2nd. It's kind of hard to believe that you still need to be elected. I think that's unfair. You did all this work in June. Why does it keep going? But there it is.
Yeah, the work always continues even after the election. So, but once again, I just want to say thank you to this club. Everyone was really amazing. A few shout outs, Judith, Wynn for being out there during petitioning, Ian, everyone really, because from petitioning to GOTV to even hosting that first outdoor event out in the parking lot, I think brought a lot of excitement and momentum to our race, and the results showed. So thank you so much, especially on Grand Street where we did extremely well. And so it just shows the influence of this club and what you've built so far.
Thanks, Chris. Good luck. Yeah, Melissa's asking Caitlin if you could just share that link again. I think for anybody who's joining after you shared it, we just need to see that again. Thanks, Chris. Hey, can I say a quick hi to Betty Lugo, who's here? Betty was also had a successful primary in June, and I'm not sure we've actually had a chance to have you to the club, so welcome.
Thank you so much. And for those of you who supported me and voted for me, thank you. And for those who didn't, please, I look forward to meeting you and just getting to know all of you. Thank you so much. And I love Chris Marte, and I'm so glad that Chris won. And thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. That's nice of you to come by. I hope we see you some more as well. I'm still waiting for Brad Lander to show up, but in the meantime, we could go to some district leader reports. Carolyn, did you have anything to add tonight? Oh, you're muted.
Hi, thanks everyone for coming tonight. I wanted to add that, like Jeremy said, hopefully we are meeting in person again for our next meeting. But if folks know of easy to access local spaces that might be open to renting to us until the Seward Park Community Room reopens fully, which it is not yet. If you know of spaces where we can meet safely, we would require everyone to show proof of vaccination and to keep a mask on. Please get in touch because we miss seeing everybody in person. And like Jeremy said, vote in the general election coming up, very important. And I'm looking forward to voting for Chris again. And we're gonna get to this later tonight, but we're gonna talk about encouraging folks to take on more leadership roles in the club. And I'm gonna put my email in the chat right now. And if anyone is interested in learning more about doing anything more with Grand Street Dems, please send me an email and let's get a coffee in the neighborhood and talk more about it. And thanks for being here tonight, everyone.
Thanks. Lee, do you have a minute to say hi?
I do. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. It's great to see everybody. Hopefully next month we'll actually be able to see everybody in person. In case you weren't on earlier, I'm in line right now waiting to testify at the congestion pricing hearing. A couple of things. I want to remind everybody who do want to get involved in our community, please consider attending Community Board 3 meetings, as well as taking maybe even a step further, not just attending, but applying to become a member. Please attend the 7th Precinct Community Council meetings and PSA 4 Community Council meetings. They're fantastic opportunities to participate in our local community. You're able to share your concerns with local leadership. Like all of you, I really want to applaud Chris Marte. Can't wait for him to officially become a council member. We really appreciate everything that he has done and that he will continue to do for our community. And lastly, if you or anybody that you know wants to participate in the very core of the democratic process, making it possible to actually vote, let us know. The Board of Elections is desperate for poll workers. They will pay for training. I was there just yesterday. We are desperately short of poll workers for our community as well as citywide. I'll drop my email as well in the chat, and we look forward to seeing everybody again. Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. I'll just go ahead with some notes from myself. First of all, I guess we've mentioned this a couple of times, but there is an actual election coming up on November 2nd. Early voting is going to start about 10 days before that. We will be sending out some information about that, some flyers about our endorsed candidates, which at this point is just all of the Democrats. We will have some flyers going out around then, mid-October, and would love some help from everybody to hand those out. So please look for those emails from me so we can get that stuff out. I just wanted to give a little bit of a preview of what comes up in the next year. Mostly that has to do with some more elections that we have coming up next year, which we actually already have to start thinking about and looking to candidates and trying to get some candidate interviews. So next year's primaries are for state assembly, state senate, and we might be in different districts than we are right now because redistricting is underway. We do not yet know what that's going to look like. For the first time, there's an independent redistricting commission, which wasn't able to reach any consensus yet and released 2 different maps. So this is my guess is that it's still just going to end up being a map approved by the state legislature, but we'll see how that goes. And then obviously there's going to be a governor's race and a lieutenant governor's race and possibly an attorney general's race if our attorney general decides to run for governor. So a lot of stuff going on there. And we're hoping to bring in as many of those candidates as we can, as we have before. There will probably be a big forum that the downtown clubs do. So all of that stuff is coming up, and I hope everybody can participate in that and get to hear from our candidates. And then lastly, I just wanted to actually remind everybody that we've got a new membership drive coming up that's basically going to start in the next week with some emails from me. We do our memberships every 2 years, so as not to have to give the speech every year. But it's time to re-up your membership. It's $60 for 2 years, and I'll be sending out some notes about that. We would love some help getting the club to be a little bigger. So talk us up to your friends and neighbors. Our friend Joey Gordon, who's here, has agreed to help me try to reach out to the several hundred people on our mailing list who aren't actual members, and we'll see if we can get them to take the next step. So that stuff is coming up as well. I guess I'll interrupt myself for a second because I see that Congresswoman Maloney has joined us, and I'd love to give her a chance to say hi if she'd like to.
Oh, I'd love to. I feel very thrilled to be able to see your faces. I wish we were in person. I am in Washington. I'm literally in what is called the Lindy Boggs room. It's a little room off the Capitol. We're voting. We're still voting tonight on the NDAA, and I just passed an amendment that's part of it that would publish and put online all the political appointees, what they're being paid, what they're doing, so that the public knows who is at the table making decisions for them in government. But the big issue, of course, is the the American Rescue Plan brought roughly 100 billion to our great city in so many ways, and individual payments, MTA and others, and I over 300 billion of that came through my committee, and I made it go directly to cities and localities, which people are thanking me across the country, because sometimes the governors, when they get it, it doesn't get to the people. But we're working on reconciliation, and it sounds good. I think we're going to get both the infrastructure bill and the Build Back Better bill. It's just transformational. It would have free community college, lowering the cost of childcare, caring for an elder parent or grandparent, lowering healthcare premiums for millions of families, lowering prescription drug costs by giving Medicare the power to negotiate lower prices. I released a report. I'm going to ask my chief of staff to send it to, I guess you, Jeremy, as the club president. You can distribute it on the high cost of prescription drugs and why we should pass the Democratic plan that would allow us to negotiate for lower prices. It shows that we pay higher prices than foreign countries. We're subsidizing the world, and it's unfair. It was written into our law. It's got to be changed. And extending dental, hearing, and vision coverage to Medicare, extending tax cuts to families with kids. Just 2 tax cuts, the child care tax cut and the earned income tax cut, say that would lift about half of our young people out of poverty. It's really, really transformational. It would extend the Second Avenue subway in the infrastructure plan all the way up to 125th Street, bringing all the benefits that the first phase that goes to 62nd Street has brought, and it attaches and goes all the way down to the end of Manhattan. It also helps in many, many other ways in modernization and helping our infrastructure and our really transit that we have. And of course, the Moynihan Station and the connection between New Jersey and New York, that is in it. There's a lot of wonderful things and upgrades, new buses and this, that, and the other. I'm very pleased that part of what came through my committee was the modernization of the postal fleet and really the fleet of government. They were going to go to buy new cars that are trucks that are gas guzzling, and this would have them go to electricity, helping us with our whole climate change, moving to a cleaner environment for the fleet. And it's got a built-in charging stations with the post offices that are around the country. In the housing bill, there's a tremendous amount of money for New York, over 300 billion total, with housing credits and 202 senior housing and other things. But very importantly, we were able to get out of the House 37.5 billion out of the committee. Hopefully we'll get it out of the House. They may try to cut it, but it would literally, with the help of the governor, get to 40 billion, which is what NYCHA says they need to make all the repairs in public housing in New York. That would be a huge achievement if we're able to do that. I think it's better if I just let you ask me questions. There's so much happening here. I could talk all night, but I know you've got an agenda, and I'm here to listen and be supportive. I want to get down on Carolyn on your corner with doing work for constituents. We're doing constituent hours in neighborhoods around the district. I'd love to pick a time that Caroline and Berman and Jeremy and all of you can sort of join me in helping constituents with their problems. I'd love to set that up. And I know there's a march. There's a march. No, they canceled it? Okay. Anyway, there's a lot going on. So maybe I should just open it up to hear your comments. I did talk to the speaker earlier tonight. I just want to share this. The SALT is very harmful to New York, probably more than anything. When people move out in New York, it's because of the double taxation. They're no longer able to deduct from their taxes the city and state taxes. It's never been there before. It doubles taxes on many people, puts most people over 60 cents on the dollar in taxation when you add the city and state taxes. And she says she's going to get that in the bill. That would be great for New York and great for our economy. So there's a lot of good things in this bill that can help people and help our environment. It's a negotiation. Everything is negotiated to death. But I'm hopeful that we'll pass both. I'm not tied to a time frame. Everybody says you got to do certain things on Monday. Well, you and I know Tuesday comes after Monday, and then there's Wednesday, and then there's Thursday. I think the main thing is we have to pass the package and have the help in there for students and for you know, all of the investments for free college and childcare, which is something I've always worked for. I've passed a few bills in it, but this is monumental. It'll be for everyone. And the childcare tax cut is so important for families. There's so much in it that it's extremely exciting. I do want to share that in the Build Back Better, not the Build Back Better, but the American Rescue Plan, there was billions of dollars for education in New York. As a former teacher, it gave not only pre-K, but education for three-year-olds throughout the whole city. So it should be in all of your schools. If you don't have it, let me know. It could be the schools don't have rooms for it, but it's totally paid for, which is a great investment for our children to have 3K, 4K universally right across the city. It's just amazing. I've never seen that much money go into education. It's very exciting. I yield back because I feel like I'm jumping into your regular meeting, and I don't want to dominate it. But there's a lot going on in Washington, and most of it is good. Anyway.
Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate that there's a lot of sausage making going on down in Washington right now, and even if not all of those things get into the final bill, I'm hopeful that you'll help get most of them into the final bill. So, so thank you for your work down there. I need to hand the floor over to Brad Lander, who's joined us, because I promised to squeeze him in before an event at 7:30. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna slip over to Brad right now, who's
Hi, Brad.
in a car in the rain. Brad, it also seems unfair that you have to still run for an election since I thought everything was done in June. I actually wanted to ask you if you knew that the consolation prize was going to be lieutenant governor, would you have worked so hard to win?
I was very happy to see Brian Benjamin become lieutenant governor. Brian is someone I didn't actually know that well before the campaign, and you spend a lot of time with the other people that are running, and he's somebody that I got to know well and really think very highly of, you know. So I was excited to see Governor Hochul appoint Brian to be lieutenant governor. I think it's really, from my point of view, a win-win. I was pretty sure that had it gone the other way and Brian won the primary, Governor Hochul was not going to appoint me to be the lieutenant governor. So this is a fine outcome. We have Kathy Hochul instead of Andrew Cuomo as governor. That's good. And Brian's going to do a great job as LG. I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to follow the Congress member, because boy, what's going on right now in Washington is just so fundamental and critical. So Congresswoman, thank you so much for the fight that you guys are fighting to do everything you can to make sure that $3.5 trillion package moves forward so we can have child care and student debt relief and climate change investments. Obviously, we're all deeply disappointed with the parliamentarian, to have that hit at the same time that we saw those horrible images from the border. So I know what you guys are doing to fight to win, really transformative change at this moment. That's why we all worked our butts off for control of the House and the Senate, and for President Biden. I just am grateful to you and your colleagues for pushing so hard. I'll just give a couple of quick tidbits here. Yeah, I'm up in the Bronx now because Bronx and Manhattan Young Dems are doing a meeting together that was supposed to be outside, but now the rain has forced it inside. And I am excited, even though, that with Grand Street Dems support, we had a great primary in June, to be really building around the city, the challenges that we are facing in managing our budget, in expanding education, in dealing with criminal justice issues like the emergency that's happening on Rikers right now, in responding to climate change and the flash flooding that we're probably going to see again tonight, in making long-term plans for our city. are really daunting. And the controller's office, I'm going to do everything I can to bring all the tools we have to securing a sustainable and inclusive and solid and vibrant long-term future for our city. I want to let you know we passed some great bills in the city council today. So I do want to mention this package of bills that we passed to support delivery workers is the first of its kind in the country. Unfortunately, Seamless and DoorDash and Uber Eats have been able to take advantage of loopholes in our labor laws. And even though everybody knows the folks that are on bikes delivering food to you are workers and deserve a minimum wage and basic protections and dignity and the right to organize, they didn't even have the right to use the bathroom. So we passed a great package of bills that council members Menchaca, Rivera, Brannon, and I worked on. And my bill guarantees that people will be paid equivalent to at least the minimum wage. There was a study that came out last week that showed delivery workers earn on average half the New York City minimum wage, just about $7.80 an hour. And like we did with Uber and Lyft drivers, and like we did for freelancers with my Freelancers and Free Act, we have the power, even though it would take Albany or Washington to say these are workers and have to be treated as workers, we have the power here to say if they are still being treated as independent contractors, then we're going to require that the platforms pay them per trip in a way that at least is the equivalent of a minimum wage after taxes and expenses. And there's another set of great bills in that package. So I do feel proud today. New York City is trying hard to really take seriously what we meant when we bang pots and pans and clap for essential workers, when we insist on a more inclusive economy coming out of this pandemic, learning some of its lessons. So there's obviously a lot else going on in the city as well. Trying to make sure as our schools are opening up that they are safe. I'm glad that the mayor at least agreed to expand testing to open the schools with less testing than we had last year. Was really unacceptable. One thing I'm going to be focused on a lot down the stretch this fall, and then when I get into the controller's office, is making sure we're spending all that federal money that the Congress member and her colleagues are getting us wisely, some in the short term on our public health issues, things like expanding testing in schools so that people can be there safely, some for the medium term, like expanding 3K, but some for the long term as well. Boy, it doesn't, the fact that, we might have another of the most heavy rains tonight, that the city's ever had in its history. And that before 2 weeks ago, we weren't even really thinking about the dangers from flash floods, but then we lost a dozen New Yorkers. It really speaks to the need to take the long-term view. How do we use that American Rescue Plan money to get our city on a sound footing coming out of this crisis so we are more ready for the next one? And that's really what I plan to do in the controller's office. It's why I was so honored to have your support in the primary. And I'm going to keep coming back again and again. I guess, Jeremy, the one thing I'll say is, I don't treat it as the opportunity to come back and keep talking with people and listening to people and focusing on what New York City government needs to deliver better. That's great. That's what I want to do every chance I can. So I'm honored to be with you. I'm going to go talk to the Manhattan and Bronx Young Dems, but I'll keep coming back to Grand Street as often as I possibly can.
All right. Well, thanks very much for sneaking us in before 7:30. I appreciate it. I guess we're going to move on to the meat of our own internal meeting here. So, Congresswoman and Council Member, if you have, you're welcome to stick around, of course. But if you've got some more pressing business, I understand, and we'll definitely have you back for some updates.
Thank you so much. Great to be with you, and Congresswoman, great to see you.
Congresswoman, you're muted.
Okay, I just want to add that I'm having a hearing on the Texas bill on not this Friday, but next Friday. And the members of Congress, women members of Congress, are going to be testifying about their own abortion experiences. And Gloria Steinem from your area will be testifying. We're having a briefing that we've asked for. I sent a strong letter about the treatment of the immigrants at the border that Jeremy and Brad Lander mentioned. It was an article in the New York Times. I don't know if it's online or just in the paper, but anyway, about the letter, and we're getting a briefing on that horrendous treatment of them. And I'm having a FEMA hearing on monies that are available to get out to our communities As you know, the president toured some of the devastated areas in Queens with me and others. And so those are 3 hearings that are coming up that pertain directly to our community. I yield back. It's great to see everybody and love to keep in touch and hear more about the concerns of the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thanks for coming by. Good luck down there.
Thank you. I need it.
All right, so for everybody else, the real purpose of tonight's meeting is to take a moment and take a step back and also to look ahead. This club has now been around for 4 years, and I hope it will be around for many, many more. But as of October 13th, I'm no longer going to be the president of the club. And that gives us a real, stop it, Carolyn. It gives us a real good opportunity to reevaluate where we are, to refocus our priorities, and to get more people involved. You know, as much as I have enjoyed doing this over the last 4 years, and I really have, and I'm not going away, I'm going to keep helping out. But I can tell you right now that one of my great failings as a club president and as a human being is the ability to delegate. And so I feel like and in particular, after having some conversations with a number of you over the last 4 or 5 weeks, it's really clear that there have not been enough opportunities for other people, for everybody in the membership to really help form what the priorities of the club are and keep things rolling in different directions than my priorities. And I think we really need to look ahead to a club that does that much better. So
No, how to bring the video back. What did you do to show me?
The first step of that is that there are officer elections on October 13th for president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary. And at this moment, even though some of those people are still interested in being involved, I think we're kind of treating this as a moment to gather as many possible nominees for those positions as possible and really try to put together a strong team that wants to work together moving into the future. The other step on that, and Carolyn mentioned this earlier, is that we want to make sure there are opportunities, even if you don't want to be a club officer and being involved in the logistics of running the club, if there is a particular issue that you care about, a local issue, a national issue, we want to make sure that that members get a chance to be a point person for that issue, to be sort of a issue captain, if you will. We don't want to call these things committees because that starts turning people off. But I think if I've talked to a number of you, and the idea of having an update from people who are working on the East Side Coastal Resiliency Project every month, the idea of having somebody who's sort of an environmental captain who brings to the club every month some volunteer opportunities or new things that are happening downtown. For somebody who might want to be a small business captain to speak to those issues each month and just let the club know what other things we might be able to plug into. So I want to make sure that that everybody starts to think about which of those kinds of topics they might want to captain for this club. And we'll see if we can build really a broader team of leaders in this club who can make the set of priorities and the set of actions that we're engaged in a little bit bigger. So that's kind of my intro to what this conversation is. What I'd love people to do is just raise hands, and I would love to have a really frank conversation about things this club has been doing well, things this club has been maybe a little slow to pick up on, things that we've been ignoring completely. And if if we were starting from scratch and you were president of this club, what would you like to see us? What would you like to see us be? What would you like to see us do? And I'll take hands raised if you want to raise hands. Carolyn's raising her actual hand. I'll let her jump in.
Sorry, I'm still not used to the participant hand raising. So I would, like Jeremy said, I want to figure out how we can just get more people involved in the club and how we can reach out to the bigger neighborhood around us. NYCHA tenants who just simply aren't in the co-ops, but we all, I know for sure we all agree that we need to do something to ameliorate the traffic situation. I know we have at least one unifying issue among everyone who lives like in this zip code. So I really want to do more outreach, whether that's, standing outside Essex Market or at the bus stops or whatever, just make people, make this a political umbrella for more people in the neighborhood. And also I'm gonna shout out Julie Wong, who is a great example of a member who, in the early summer, like this is great, really pulled together that great outdoor rally for all of our endorsed candidates. I hope you all were there in June. That was Julie's idea from start to finish. And, really it was so wonderful. And it's great also, I think, for people to remember that you don't need to run for an election or become an officer to create an event that brings candidates and elected officials down to Lower East Side, or just again, like Jeremy said, highlight something that you are interested in. One thing that you really are excited about that's great, please come to us and let's try to do that together, because one of my favorite parts about this is throwing parties, and anything I can do to enable that is really great. And I still want to work on traffic.
If I don't see hands, I'm just going to start calling on people who I know have things to say. Oh, Harriet's raising her hand. Go ahead, Harriet.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is my first time on Zoom, everybody, so bear with me. So the traffic issue. I heard so much lip service from everybody about the traffic issue. We need to start pulling our brains together and figure out something to do, to the extent that if we have to get 900 people on Grand Street to just protest, then we have to do something to draw attention. Because I have gone to all the meetings, to the community board, to the police department, every single meeting, and I've drawn pictures and we've talked and talked and talked. It is unbearable, unbearable, okay? We have to figure something out. I am willing to go out on the street and put up a stand. You want to get more people engaged? This is an issue, like Carolyn said, that people will get engaged. You will have everybody in this neighborhood getting involved if you can figure something to do about this issue. And we campaign, it seems like all we do is campaign. We're campaigning for candidates. It's great, they're terrific. I love them. I'm happy when they win. But you know what? What are they doing for us? We're campaigning for them, okay? Like one hand washes the other. I never hear any of us saying, could you do this for us? Or how do we get you involved in this one particular issue without hearing, yeah, I know something's got to be done. And I could go on. The other thing I wanted to say, you want a lot more people getting involved, translate into Spanish and into Chinese. Get people that are speaking other languages, because you know what? There are a lot of people that speak other languages in our district that I'm sure would love to get involved. And unfortunately, they're reluctant to do so.
Yeah, thank you. I agree on both of those points. To to the first, I would say, for all 4 years, we've had a council member down here who.
And my burger. I also got a small cheeseburger, but just
Sorry, Joey, we just got your hamburger order. I'm hopeful that that we now will have a council member who really can partner with us on this. One of the things I learned from trying to work with the Department of Transportation for a couple of years was that they're not going to just come up with these ideas on their own. They're going to do it when the council and the mayor ask them to. And that's what we need to make sure happens now. There is we're kind of lucky that there was sort of a master plan, a pedestrian master plan passed by the last city council that isn't meant to go into effect until the next city council. But it mandates quite a substantial amount of pedestrian space to be added everywhere in the city. And I'm hopeful that we could use that to create some really good pedestrian space around Essex Crossing and allow that to be a reason and a way to change the traffic pattern. So
That's not going to, that's going to worsen the traffic. That's not going to make it any better, Jeremy.
I think there's a
It's
way.
not.
I think there's
And
a way
there's
that
some-
these things really overlap and will work together, actually, because what I'm talking about is a entrance ramp to the Williamsburg Bridge that runs right through what should be a really nice pedestrian area in Essex Crossing. And I think once you make those kinds of changes, you'll see things reflow in the way we want them to reflow. And hopefully we'll figure out a plan that actually works. But I guess my point is, I think we'll have a council member now who's actually going to work with us on this.
Okay, and my point is, and I'll make it brief, is nobody's going to give a damn unless we get loud. Okay, sorry, but you need to get loud. You need to get on TV. You need to get on social media. You need to get everywhere to draw people's attention. Because when people's attention is drawn to an issue, all of a sudden they start coming up with solutions.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And we will definitely move to that. And on the second point about translating, we did just talk about that in our executive committee meeting, and we're going to be working to do a much better job at that than we have. I totally agree with you. Tommy, you've got your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on those first comments, because one of my concerns has been, while we have as a club created ourselves, or as an organization, and we have beat down the wolves to some extent, we have also failed to exercise our political clout now that we represent the community in a meaningful way. And we've also failed to sort of address some of those issues on directly. And as a club, we're not going to have unanimous consent on every issue, as we just heard, as we go forward on an issue we want to go forward. But we can't have that prevent us from doing that. I'll use East River Park, Elizabeth Street Garden, Chinatown Working Plan. There are lots of issues which we've sort of touched on the surface, but we've really failed to use our clout. And one of the things that I take from the last election, from my interaction now, by the way, with elected officials, and I didn't get a chance, but Carolyn Maloney, for example, has agreed to meet with us about the park now. And one of the reasons I believe that she and other elected officials are now beginning to pay attention was Chris Marte's victory. Chris won over the endorsement and support of every elected official, almost every union, every organization in the community. But what they failed to recognize was that Chris had connected with the community on the issues that were of importance to the community, whether it was Elizabeth Street Garden or the oversaturation of bars or East River Park even, where we're not looking for no plan, we're looking for a better plan, just so people understand. And the existing plan, by the way, does not address what we have tonight, a rain event. That is not even addressed by the existing plan. So I want the club or the organization, however we want to poise ourselves, to become, as was just said, louder, and to make elected officials understand that they will not get our endorsement or our support unless they step up and we can see their actions for real, not on a piece of paper, not when they come to a meeting, but that we can see some results. And that's my criticism right now. We have not used our leverage, which we now have, appropriately.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a really fair point in terms of what we've done and what we've not done. So I think that'll be, that can definitely be a focus moving forward now that we're, as you said, established and have helped to elect some of these candidates. Hopefully we can use that in a different way. Bill, I see your hand up. Please go ahead.
I'm just gonna second Harriet's suggestions because I mean, I grew up at the time when Saul Alinsky was a pretty well-known name. And I really think that at this point, the various city agencies, the deep state of the city is not going to listen unless we make them listen. And it reminds me of basically when Reverend Sharpton had the Days of Outrage, and all of a sudden people started to pay attention to him. We put 200 bodies on an intersection at the, either at Delancey at the bottom of the Williamsburg Bridge or at the right at the corner by Target, and back up traffic so that people go nuts. It'll take only a couple times before they actually deal with it. But the process of keep on going to the same people and asking to do something. I mean, I went to one of the visioning plans for the city, for the transportation department. We spent hours at one of the schools with them. And then when they had the deputy transportation commissioner come to one of the community board meetings, he really didn't have any of the results from the whole visioning statement. And when we asked him things like, well, do you know that there's like 3 different buildings going up in the neighborhood, all on roads going to the Williamsburg Bridge? He knew nothing about it. They're just not going to pay attention to us until we make their lives miserable. So, and that actually is consistent also with Tommy's thing, because I think that until we make it a challenge, I wouldn't bother chaining ourselves to the trees in the park. I'd bother chaining ourselves to the doors at the City Planning Commission and make their lives miserable, and or the Department of Buildings or whoever. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. The only thing I'll add to that, just to look at this from the direction that I'm trying to think about where this club is going to go. If we want to get 200 people out on that intersection and get the news cameras there and get our elected officials to pay attention, we need some of you to sit down and figure out how to organize that, because it doesn't just happen by sending a couple of emails out, and it's not all going to be able to happen if you expect the president of the club to do it, right? So this is sort of where I see the club moving, is to make sure that when somebody has that idea and really feels like that's what the club needs to be doing, that person also helps figure out how to do it. And I'm hoping that we can start to create that kind of an ethic in this club more than we've had over the last few years. And again, I admit that some of that is my own failing and not being able to hand things out in the right way. So I think some of this will be a little easier to do when I'm not president. But I just want people to remember that when they suggest the club do something, I want you to think that maybe the next thing you say is, and let me get that started. Julie, you've got your hand up.
Hi, everybody. This is my first call with Grand Street Dems, and I'm really impressed with this group. So I hope to pay more attention and figure out ways to be helpful. I wanted to ask a question about the whole traffic situation. I live in Stewart Park. I hear the cars honking myself. I have plenty of video footage of cars yelling, people yelling at each other, people getting very hostile. So I have two questions. What is our ask? What is the ask? I know what we want, which is silence and peace, but what are we specifically asking? That's my first question. And do we agree on the ask? Okay, my second question is, Holland Tunnel is a nightmare. It takes an hour just to go from here to the Holland Tunnel, maybe 3 hours. And then it's so much easier once you get through the Holland Tunnel. I have video footage on Instagram of how it took forever. And so I wonder if Jeremy or Carolyn have spoken to their counterparts in that part of the wing to see how that neighborhood is handling the crazy traffic in Tribeca, because cars don't move. It's not even so much construction, but it's just chaotic. You know, it's chaos. So I feel like we have kindred spirits out there, but you know, so what is our ask? Who have we spoken to in other neighborhoods about this? And if we redirect traffic, are we putting the problem on somebody else? Okay, is that what we want? That's all.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I don't know that we can have a full meeting right now about traffic, but I would love to do that soon. There were a number of sessions around this 2 and 3 years ago. The culmination of all of that was actually a pretty good meeting that we finally forced Margaret Chin's office to call. And that felt to me like a little bit of a turning point, but that then happened that was like the end of January 2020. And obviously sort of all kinds of things changed very soon after that. So we never really were able to pick up on that. We got stalled, and I'm hoping to get started again. There were a few different plans that we offered even 4 years ago. I was definitely in touch with neighbors in other parts of the neighborhood, and it is a problem where if you want the traffic to get moved out of Grand Street, there are other people elsewhere who feel like they're going to be hurt by that. So there's a lot to figure out. I don't know that there's one particular answer, but I think there are definitely a couple of things that we can insist on to make the situation better. But I would love to have that as a sort of next meeting and figure out what our next steps are there. Marion?
So, I mean, this is a big issue. I'm sitting here right now and I always wear headphones, earplugs, so you can't hear the honking outside my window. There were these visioning sessions. There was a 2-year traffic survey that went on. So one thing we could start, and I'd be willing to, if there were a couple of people that wanted to work with me on this, to find out what the results of those things were. And there was one of the visioning sessions came up with some really good ideas about keeping the traffic just like from the FDR Drive right onto the Williamsburg Bridge with very little work. So I think there are possibilities, and I think they came out in these meetings and they've just, they've gone nowhere. So Harriet, let's talk more, and anybody else who wants to be involved in this, let's do that.
Ian, I see your hand is up. I think you're muted.
Yes, thanks, Jeremy. I just wanted to say on the sort of the same topic of if somebody has an idea and hopefully they'll come and start organizing it. I would like to say, as the Grand Street Dems social media czar, I would love it for the issues that people feel passionate about, that they, one, get on social media. There's really no longer, if you're politically engaged, there's really no longer an excuse to not be, at least on Twitter. Two, after you get on Grand Street Dems, or after you get on social media, follow us on Grand Street Dems. And then 3, start actively retweeting or tagging us in your posts. So that is a real great way to amplify your message. to direct the messages at political leaders. If you do the post and you tag us, I am curating the feed, and I will be happy to repost things most of the time. So those would just be my 3 requests and encouragements for people who want to make this club even more impactful and in your face. So thanks.
It's true. It is a funny little place where politicians do hang out. So so if we can get the messages out there, I think it does make a difference. And Ian's been doing an heroic job for 4+ years now on our own accounts. And yeah, it's true. If you post something and tag Grand Street Dems, there's a good chance he's going to retweet it, and that just keeps things rolling and lets some other people see it. So let's keep that in mind as well. Harriet, you got your hand up again?
I do.
Go ahead.
Figured out how to do it. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not on Twitter. I'm not a social media person, but I have a big mouth, as you all probably know, and I'm pretty good at getting the word out in my way. And don't estimate the power of seniors that don't sit on social media and in that bubble where people are just, being angry with one another, or just exhibiting their anger. So I would like to volunteer to work with anybody else in the club that wants to come up with a really strategic plan. There are so many things that can be done, immediate things, really easy things to ease the traffic, really, really easy, and that makes sense. And I'm just, I'm tired of going to these meetings all by myself, not our meetings, but the community meetings. And you know what? It might be worth our while to I don't know what other people's issues are in the community. How am I going to ask them to engage with me if I don't know what their issues are and they don't know how to get their issues to us or even know that we exist? So I think, just getting out there physically, like, give me a table and a cloth to put over it, and I'll talk to people. And I think social media is great. I'm not putting it down, but it's, not my thing. Sorry, guys.
All of these things are together, and knocking on doors and Twitter and handing out flyers and standing on street corners. All of these things kind of work together. It's not one or the other, for sure.
Okay. Good.
Carolyn, you got your hand back up?
You really should try. Just like Zoom, you should really try. It's like saying, I'm not going to vote. It's something that we all have to learn how to do.
Okay. I wanted to say, moving forward with like Harriet and Marion's both saying like, I want to work on traffic, maybe at least for this meeting right now. And I know we'll need to kind of set up a process going forward. Rather than drop stuff in the chat or just say that like I'm interested right now, how about as a follow-up to this meeting? I know we're going to have notes from it. How about there's a follow-up email? People who want to get involved in traffic, email Harriet, or you can, I also want to do stuff around traffic. So my email and Harriet's email, but like, let's send that out after this meeting, because lots of Grand Street Dems who are not here right now. And if we really do, and lots of people just on our mailing list who might want to be involved. And so if you're okay having Jeremy put your email address in
I do email. I definitely do email.
No, I'm just saying, and like also, and people can message Jeremy or me after this meeting if there are other things specifically that you just want to, put out the call for. Maybe let's not, I don't think we can do that right here in a productive way, but as a follow-up email to this meeting, here are some things people want to start working on right now. you know, and again, like, if you're comfortable letting Jeremy put your email in our email to the list, like, then, you know, then we'll have a ton of names that we can coordinate with. We can actually set up a date to be outside on Grand Street yelling at cars.
Okay, just Jeremy, remember to spell my name right. By the way, I went to the convention. I was the only one from our club that went to the convention. I'm talking about the judicial convention.
Yeah, we've got to pull that together also. That's
Yeah, there's stuff to discuss about that too. Okay, got it. Thank you.
And I can help organize this stuff easily by, if somebody raises their hand and says, I'm going to be the traffic captain, I can make a traffic@grandstreetdems.nyc that just forwards to their address, and we can start that conversation going. So other than traffic, we could talk about traffic forever, but what are the other things that are moving you right now in the neighborhood, in politics, that you would like to at least just bring some information to the club, give some volunteer opportunities to other members, or really organize around? What would that look like for some of you? Go ahead, Melissa.
So I was looking at I guess it was the email you sent, or Carolyn, I can't remember. And one of the topics was public schools. And I thought that I would be very interested in working on public school stuff. I'm not sure what you guys meant by that, but you know, I've been PA president a couple of times and on the PAs for too long. So I have a knowledge and interest.
Yeah, that's great to know. I mean, there's always something going on, and there are a lot of topics over the last year and a half regarding schools being open, schools being closed, what kind of testing is going on that we as a club really haven't touched at all. I'm sure various parents here have in some way or another, but there's definitely a way to hook into that. So I appreciate that, Melissa. Thanks very much. Sure. Tommy's got his hand up again. Go ahead, Tommy.
Well, just that there are several of us in the organization who are active in East River Park Action and in fighting, you know, the current plan, and hopefully we won't be 1 month from now looking at 1,000 trees destroyed and an entire park destroyed, but not with that. I am sure one of us would be happy to show up and update people, certainly. And, you know, if people are interested in joining that effort, we will then let them know exactly how to do that. So I am certainly willing to sort of spearhead that effort.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, I do think that kind of thing is extremely important and something that we haven't done well. Eastside Coastal Resiliency has come up for, I think, 2 resolutions from the club, but then in between those meetings, it barely comes up at all. And it's exactly the kind of thing where I would love to see, you know, a 5-10 minute update every month, just to make sure people know what's happening and know where to go if they want to get more involved. Kim, you've got your hand up. We were also talking about this last week. Kim, did I just lose you?
Sorry, I forgot how to do this. I've been back at work in real life. Yeah, Tommy, I'd love to tag team with you and Fanny about, you know, East River Park, if you guys are up for that. I'd be happy to work on that. Another thing I just wanted to say, and I will follow up with this, but I'm pretty good at just, you know, graphics and social media posts, well, like graphic posts on the fly. So when we have stuff to do and it's tomorrow, you know, just keep in mind, I'm glad to do that kind of stuff. And the last issue that I want to do, and I probably in the last 2 years, I've talked about this at some meetings. I can't even remember if I did or not, but I got an MPA in public policy last year, finally. And I worked on youth voting issues, and I ran an internship during the election cycle last year. And I came up with a plan for the city, and it looked so like it really could be implemented before the pandemic and before it looked like who we were going to get for mayor. I'm not so, positive about it now, but it seemed very implementable. But what I did with these interns was we reached out to all the swing states. Essentially, we didn't call them swing states. They were the states where the youth vote was most likely to influence the election. But all the interns, I did the graphics. Unfortunately, I thought I was going to find all these kids who could do graphic design. They didn't do that, but they were really great at making connections. And we reached out to universities and voting advocacy organizations in all those states, asking them like what their needs were and who their audience was. And, I have no data on how effective it was, but I know on the whole, this was like the highest youth voter turnout pretty much ever in the whole country. I don't have the data in New York City, but I don't think it was particularly good here. And just like a couple of things that I was supposed to have been able to do, like Link NYC. So they were going to run some of my ads in, 10 different neighborhoods or something, and they didn't follow through with that. But I feel like we could do so much better. And just, the data shows that when you start voting young, you always vote. And I feel like that's just really important now to get kids voting in every single election. And I feel like we kind of missed that in the last couple of years. And I'd love to see us do better. So anyway, that's something I'm interested in and would like to work on.
Do you have a particular plan for just a small local club like ours?
Well, to get kids involved in a club like ours, or for what we could do?
Well, just how would you bring that then through?
Well, I hadn't really thought about it that deeply, but the one issue that I'm always thinking about is that our state and almost all the 50 states have pre-registration for kids who are 16 and 17, and almost nobody knows like how to do that. And it's made it's on the Board of Elections site. It's almost non-existent. And I did call them like, all right, you need to put a button somewhere. They're like, yeah, we're gonna do it. They never did it. I feel like just that kind of advocacy, if everybody in the club, and their cousin with just like, hey, we got to let people know that kids know that they can do this and make it easy for them of how you get this done. I feel like that's something really simple that I could spearhead that, and I'd be glad to do that.
That sounds great. I think that's super worthwhile. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Sarah Richardson.
Hey, Kim, congratulations on your degree. So I do a lot of volunteer work on climate related issues, sort of on policy stuff, on pressuring big tech, on community stuff. I'm a gardener with Kim, and she knows how I feel about local plants and pollinators. So there's a lot I can connect our membership with of various opportunities. I don't claim to be expert in the science, but I can make connections in what people can do. So I'm happy to help with that.
Yeah, I think that would also be really useful. And I'm sure there are other people in the club who would hook into that and have their own things to contribute and be psyched to have some sort of outlet for their thoughts around this. So thank you. Laura?
Here we go. Okay, thank you. I had well, one of the thing that I think the club has addressed a little bit in the past, but not much, is the idea of possibly rezoning our neighborhood, either with the recommendations of the Chinatown Working Group or some other recommendation. It's obviously an old plan now. that might need some fine tuning, but that's something I think possibly, I mean, among so many other things the club could be working on. Actually, I thought maybe we could all, like, as a brainstorming session at some point via email, just throw out all the things we could be working on and then vote on what most members are interested. Think that that's actually a good idea to work on that, so we're able to focus on probably 4 or 5 or 6 max main goals. And in terms of then accomplishing, let's say we have 6 goals. So having a captain, like you were suggesting, Jeremy, is a great idea. And having some kind of small monthly 10-minute report on the progress. And if there's no progress, there's no progress. But, you know, having to have this monthly or, you know, whatever period, but regularly enough, little report to the board, kind of that, okay, this is where we are with climate change, with rezoning, with traffic. These are my suggestions.
Yeah, thanks. I think that's definitely sort of where we want to be headed. I would say one thing a little bit differently, which is that if we try to gather a bunch of ideas and vote on them and come up with 4 or 5 topics that we want to concentrate on, I'm nervous that that gets bogged down in some sort of organizational stuff. And what I really want to do is just encourage people to say, I'm interested in small businesses downtown, and I'm going to do something about that with the club. I think that's really the way to just kind of like let these things come up naturally and let the members who have a passion for that express that passion. I think that's the most organic and natural way for this to happen. And the more people do that, the more we'll have more captains, we'll have some more issues, and we'll be able to direct our attention in, I think, a lot of different ways and a lot of different directions if we have those people who are stepping up. So I really thank you all for those of you who've been raising your hands for different things, and we'll follow up with you and figure out the right next step. But also just think yourself about what the right next step is and tell me. That's probably a quicker way to get these things done. Marion, you got your hand up again.
I know, real hand, sorry. I think one thing that would really help facilitate this, I love the ideas, and Laura, thank you very much for bringing up the Chinatown Working Group's plan, because that's been something very much on my mind, and I know it's on Chris Marte's mind too, is to make sure organizationally that, you know, we have, it's been really hard during the pandemic, but that we have regular meetings and that some part of them are devoted to this. Because it feels like what's happened in the last year, besides the insanity of the pandemic, is that, you know, we kept, you know, we were doing ranked choice voting and we had 1 million people coming to speak to us. And I know that's a very essential part of the club. And yet if we're interested, and I talked to a lot of people over the last 2 months, and people are interested in local issues, but if we're going to do that in the club, then we have to devote, I think, we have to say that we're interested in that. We're going to devote attention to that on a regular basis. So, I mean, it's been almost a year since we talked about the plan, and then we just got caught up in this, and the other. So I would suggest that we build that in to our monthly meetings so that we're sure the people who say, I'm interested in this, I'll do that, will happen.
Yeah, I think that's right. We have to obviously just make sure that there's a platform for them to keep these things moving. Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, thank you. I'm going to close that part of it out. We've got one last guest to talk to us about something happening downtown. But I do just want to really emphasize. So on October 13th, we're electing new officers. I'm going to keep talking to those of you who gave me maybes to see if we can put a team together that's going to be able to help with the logistics and the organizing here. And then everybody else who's raising their hand to volunteer for different issues, let's make sure to get that stuff started right away. And I think as soon as we have a few of you, I have a feeling we'll find other people who realize, oh, that's the way it works. I want to do the same thing, but about the issue that I care about. So I think we're in a I think we need to keep building some momentum here and get this all set up. Okay, so I also want to introduce to you guys another district leader from Assembly District 65, Victoria Ferriello, who's joining us. She's a member over at DID, but has some, there's an issue going downtown that we haven't addressed at all. And I think Victoria wanted to give us a little update and figure out what we could do around this as well. So Victoria, go ahead.
Hi, so thank you so much for having me this evening, and I'll try to keep it brief. I know these meetings can go long. We just had our 3-hour meeting last night. So, so I would like to talk to you about 5 World Trade Center. I'll try to give you a really quick background. It's one of the last remaining sites that needs to be developed. It is actually public land. It is owned by the Lower Manhattan Development Corporation, which is a state agency. So it is public land. And in the spring, the Lower Manhattan Development Corporation actually accepted an RFP from Silverstein and Brookfield Properties, a joint venture, where they want to build an 80-story luxury building. They say they're going to give up to 25% affordability, but the community downtown has long fought for affordability. And as you know, and I'm sure you've seen in Soho, NoHo, and all across the city, really, we always hear politicians and developers say, yeah, we're doing this for affordability, and then we get peanuts. Well, here we have an opportunity to actually build 80 stories of affordable housing. It would be amazing. So we are, I'm part of a coalition. It's called a Coalition for Affordable 5 World Trade Center. I'm going to put in the chat here, if that's okay, our website. And we do have a petition. If you go to our website, that would be awesome. And if you could sign, as you probably are aware, what we need to do is raise the temperature. We have, Representative Nadler and Representative Maloney have each written a letter on behalf of the coalition, from there, but in support of the coalition for 100% affordable housing. And certainly Chris Marte has been very supportive, as well as Yuleen Yu. And we're trying to push our other elected leaders to help us here. But what we really need is numbers. So I would love to ask you to please sign our petition. And I'll let you know about 2 other events that we're having to help again, try to get attention to this, to really push this forward. So this weekend we're running with Tunnel to Towers. I don't know if you're aware of this organization, but Tunnel to Towers is an organization that was created after September 11th in memory of Stephen Siller, who was a firefighter who ran through the Battery Tunnel on September 11th and tragically perished at the World Trade Center site while saving others. And the Tunnel to Towers was created to help. So it's a foundation that provides funding to help pay mortgages to 9/11 survivors and first responders who have either perished on the job or who have some major disability and can no longer work. They've done a tremendous amount of work. So if you are able to join us, we'd love to have you. Again, you can go to our website and there's information there on that. If you do decide to register, you have to go in and you can choose which group. We'd love to have you. Again, we have t-shirts and let us know. The money does not come to us. It does go to Tunnels to Towers, but this is a way to, again, raise awareness and say, this is what's happening downtown. The community downtown is asking for this. The community there are all across the district. People have been asking for affordability. And the Lower Manhattan Development Corporation has as part of their mission that they'll create affordable housing. And so far have not built a single complex, not one. Surely they'll, well, in any event, nor have they been forthcoming with their, with the transparency. We've been trying to meet with them. They have what's called, what we call CAC. It's a Community Advisory Council or committee. And, but really was just pro forma, not really engaged. And so we don't know how much money they're giving Silverstein and Brookfield for this. By the way, Silverstein has received over $2 billion in subsidies, whether in various forms of subsidies, to build in the trade center. And the community has nothing to show for that. Well, they have the buildings, but in terms of home and giving back to this. Another big part of what our push is we are asking for preference for 9/11 survivors and first responders. And that would include actually a lot of the entire district, right? If you look at how the LMDC defines survivors, it's I think it goes up to 14th Street on down. So it affects all our neighborhoods. But the other thing we are having on Tuesday at 5 o'clock, the coalition is having a meeting. We're going to have a speaker, Ronald Schiffman, who is, he's the founder of the Pratt Institute Center for Environmental and Community Development. And he was also a leader for affordable housing after September 11th for advocacy for affordable housing. So he'll be there. We hope that Senator Kavanaugh will join us as well, and Yulene, and hopefully Chris Marte as well. But we'd love to have you. So it's 5 o'clock. Again, the information will be on our website. 5 o'clock on Tuesday. We try to be very strict with our time, keep it to an hour, but we'd love to join you. And one thing I'll put in my chat also is just my email. If anyone wants any more information on this, or wants to, I'm more than happy to meet with anyone or speak about it. So thank you so much for your time. I know, like I said, I know it's getting late and everyone's got to put their kids to bed and get home. So thank you.
Can I ask you a quick question before we,
of course.
Who's actually the decision maker for 5 World Trade Center?
So there are various players. There's the Lower Manhattan Development Corporation owns the site at the moment, but the Port Authority, they've been working with the Port Authority because the Port Authority has gave up or exchanged the land for the memorial to have 5 World Trade Center site. But the complication comes because the Port Authority's charter does not allow them to have residential. They can't own residential buildings. So the idea is, quite self-servingly on the LMDC's part, is that they will remain in existence to basically own and manage, but they will pay and lease to the Port Authority. So the Port Authority is not actually. So we will be talking about at our meeting on Tuesday, the Port Authority does have board meetings. We will be attending those meetings, and there'll be other stuff that we can, that we'll keep you all abreast to, because really right now what we need to show is numbers, that people really want this because they think it's just a bunch of loud people, but I've not spoken to anyone yet who doesn't think it's a great idea. This is a site, we're not destroying any historical buildings, we're not doing anything. This is public land and using public money to build. What we need now is affordability downtown. So, so thank you. Any other questions?
Okay, thanks very much for bringing that to us. And you're welcome anytime, Victoria. So
thanks so much.
I don't know what club meetings you're going to that last 3 hours, but I think this might be my, I guess this is my final Grand Street Dems meeting, full Grand Street Dems meeting as president, and we've never had a 3-hour meeting. It's just it's not in our DNA. Sorry, Richard.
I take that very personally, Jeremy. Very personally.
Well, we'll
that hurts.
Yeah, well, we are.
And I take back what I just said in the chat.
Yeah, I'll strike that from the record for sure. Thank you. In any case, we're at time. We said this was 7 to 8:30 and here we are at 8:25. So I guess, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Did Bill have his hand up? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to just quickly, I just wasn't quick enough in the uptake to ask Victoria, are there any other organizations that you connected with? Because this strikes me as all, ties in with the Soho NoHo, ties in with the Chinatown Working Group. It's, the Inwood, the Brooklyn stuff. It's all about this crazy zoning and giveaway to super developers.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And yes, we have. If you go to our website again, I don't have it pulled up, but we have actually connected. There's a Soho Alliance. There's, I don't believe a Chinatown Working Group has yet signed on, but certainly we've spoken with them and I think they're very supportive. If anyone on here can tell me otherwise, please let me know. But, and we've also reached out to various 9/11 groups. So we've connected with the Feel Good Foundation, which provides healthcare for 9/11 survivors, and they'll be joining us, and hopefully we're waiting for confirmation, and a number of others. But if you go to our website, we do also list our partners, but we would love to have Grand Street Dems join us if that's something that you felt you would support. That would be wonderful. DID is Downtown Independent Democrats is also a supporter. So
thank you.
Thank you.
And I would just add one thing, Jeremy, to your question about the decision makers in this. As Victoria said, it's a Port Authority and Empire State Development Corporation, and both of those are New York State. Well, the Port Authority is Jersey and New York, which is adds a layer of complication, but they're New York State controlled organizations. And so our new governor is really a key decision maker in this, and how we made great efforts to get Cuomo to pay attention to this. Whether he would have or not, he was certainly distracted by other things, and now we have the hopes of a new governor, but we don't know yet the degree to which she'll come on board here. I will say that, as Victoria said, Carolyn Maloney has been great, and she wrote a letter directly to the governor, to Kathy Hochul, and we'll see. But that's going to be, she will be an important decision maker for sure.
Jeremy, okay, I had an unrelated question, which is, I'm not quite clear on what our plan is going forward. Have there been anyone to express interest in your term limit issue, or?
We have a few maybes floating out there, and I'm hoping to turn them into yeses over the next couple of weeks. We've got till October 13th to have a vote. So.
Okay, so.
Are you volunteering right now, Bill?
I'm involved with some of the groups in the neighborhood, so I think we already have one person in the family who's taking on some responsibility. I don't want to have all our dinners be about Grand Street Dems.
I can say from personal experience, that's totally fine. Also, right. Jeremy, if you were looking for a motion to adjourn, before you do that, I'm sure everyone wants to take a second to give you a virtual round of applause if this is your last meeting, for all of your incredible work. You've been overly self-deprecating tonight, and we enormously appreciate everything you do.
Unmute. Give us a round of applause.
Thank you all, but we have to do the meeting before 8:30 or Richard's not going to let me forget it.
You got that right.
Thank you, Jeremy.
No, thank you all. I think I get to start the next meeting, but not finish it. So I'll have one last little speech to give you all, I'm sure. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Judy.
Right next to cars.
Anyone opposed? Then I can say goodnight, and I will talk to you all soon. Thanks very much. Have a great night.
Good night, everybody.
Night,
Thanks, Jeremy.
everyone.
Good night, thank you.
Right.